Who will our analysts pick for men's and women's basketball preseason awards? Will the baseball team make another run to the MAC title? And will we see improvement from the women's lacrosse team this season? This and much more on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I am your host, Gage Kilborne, and alongside me are Ethan Logue and Jacob Resnick. Guys, you ready to go?
Well, I think we're burying the lead here a little bit. Not one, not two, but three first-timers on Breakdown, so I think this should be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to debating with you, Jacob. I think it's going to be a great show.
Let's do it.
Sounds great, guys. Without further ado, let's begin. Earlier this week, Quinnipiac women's basketball announced they will be participating in the Basketball Hall of Fame Challenge at Mohegan Sun Arena starting on November 28th. Quinnipiac will be competing against the University of Maine, Mississippi State, and UConn. So guys, how do you think Quinnipiac will fare against some of the nation's best?
Well, Gage, Jacob, this is going to be a tough challenge and a tough tournament for the Bobcats. They're playing some of the best teams in the country. In fact, 2 top 10 teams will be participating in that tournament, UConn and Mississippi State. I'm really looking forward to this, though, because I'm really excited to see how the Bobcats will fare against some of the nation's best. You got players like Paige Buchers, the #1 recruit in the country for the UConn Huskies, coming in, and you got a lot of top recruits in that for both Mississippi State and UConn. So I think it'll be interesting. I don't think Quinnipiac will come out on top. I will probably go with UConn, but I think it'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, listen, I mean, these are, like you said, some of the top teams in the country. Before we even get into the games, I think we should give our hats off to the Basketball Hall of Fame for organizing this tournament. They're calling it Bubbleville is how they're referring to it. And we've seen the difficulties that some of the other college conferences and sports have gone through with trying to get sports off the ground. So the fact they're even able to get this up and going, hats off to them. Like we were talking about, UConn, Mississippi State, 2 of the best in the country. And Maine, no slouch themselves, a powerhouse in the America East. So, I can't predict a win here for Quinnipiac. I think, especially early in the season, teams are always still trying to find their footing. I'm going to predict an opening round loss against UConn. Obviously, one of the best teams in the country, have been for years. But definitely a good learning experience.
It'll be a great test for the Bobcats early on. It'll really show us how the season may go for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. A few weeks ago, the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference released their men's and women's basketball schedules for the upcoming 2020-21 season. Conference play is set to begin on December 9th as both teams have their eyes on a MAC championship. With this being said, who do you think will be the most competitive matchup for both squads?
Yeah, well, we just talked about the women, so let's continue with them. I'm going to go with January 6th against Manhattan, mainly for the reason that would have been the first round in the tournament had it not been canceled back in March. So I think everyone's going to kind of have that game circled on their schedule. Both teams finished 12-8 last season, and Manhattan is a pretty solid team. Emily LaPointe was the unanimous MAC Rookie of the Year last season. Courtney Worley, 6'3", two-way star for them. Manhattan, I think in terms of closely matching up with them, going to make this a really competitive matchup. And just in terms of Quinnipiac women's basketball as a whole, it's a very important year for them. Last year was more up and down for them than had been in probably about a decade. And the key contributors are gone. Paige Warfel, Jaden Ward, Taylor Hurd. So who's going to step up? Who's going to lead this program? Who's going to make sure that the legacy of the Quinnipiac women's basketball program continues? I think that starts with a really good test against a Manhattan team that they're closely matched up with.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, Jacob. I was going back and forth between looking at their schedule. I think the toughest matchup for them right now is probably going to be Marist. I debated between them and Ryder. Both Marist and Ryder finished the season with a 26-4 overall record and an 18-2 conference record. That's really impressive and could present many problems for the Bobcats. The main reason why I chose Marist over Ryder was because of the loss of Stella Johnson, the MAC MVP last year for the Ryder Bronx. She averaged about 25 points a game and just took over the conference. She was just a dominating factor and a real problem. So
Playing in the WNBA now.
yeah, exactly. She's obviously a great player, obviously in the WNBA. So that's the main reason why I went with Marist. They did lose 2 of their top scorers, but they're still a very strong team, have a lot of depth. And now with Stella Johnson and gone, I really think this is Marist's conference to lose.
Absolutely. I mean, you can go either way. The MAC is very open, very bunched up in those middle teams. Let's talk about the men real quick. I think the easy answer is Siena, and 15-5 in the conference last year, number 1 seed, top player in the conference, Jalen Pickett. He's back for them. So I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go to Monmouth. You notice a little trend here. That was also the team that Quinnipiac would have played in the first round. But you look at the entire spectrum here. Only one team in the MAC last year had a top 3 offense and a top 3 defense. That was the Monmouth Hawks. 3rd in offensive rating, 2nd in defensive rating. You need to perform on both sides of the ball. This team does it. King Rice, in my opinion, the top returning coach in the MAC. You got Rick Pitino coming in, the basketball legend at Iona. But among the coaches coming back, I think King Rice definitely takes it for them. Deion Hammond, top scorer returning in the MAC. You might think Jalen Pickett was the player of the year, but actually Hammond averaged 16.6 points per game last year, Pickett at 15.5. So Hammond, all-MAC first-team selection. And keep an eye on Donovan Totley. We're going to hear that name a lot this year. Transfer from Chattanooga, sat out all of last year, but went to high school with Deion Hammond in Maryland. Only 5'9", but he really gets to the rim with ease, distributes the ball. So, this is a matchup last year. 14-point win for Quinnipiac in January, an 11-point win for Monmouth in New Jersey in February. So, Quinnipiac 5-9 on the road last year. I'm picking this matchup at Monmouth is going to be really key for them to start winning some of these closer games on the road so that they can take the next step in this conference. But who are you going with on the men's side?
I got to go with Siena. I just have to. With everything they have, MVP Jalen Pickett returning, like you previously mentioned, MAC Player of the Year. He almost entered the draft last year, the NBA draft. He decided to come back for his junior year, and he's just going to be an absolute problem this year. He's going to really tear it up, especially with players like Kevin Marfo and Rich Kelly gone from Quinnipiac. I just think that the Siena Saints will be a real thorn in the Bobcats' side. The Bobcats dropped both games to Siena last year, obviously, both at home and on the road. That 5-9 record you mentioned on the road. And there are just so many factors. Obviously, Pickett averaged 6.7 assists, 4.6 rebounds a game. He could really do it all. He could get a triple-double on a night that you needed it. He was just a real pain. But I'm really interested to see how head coach Rick Pitino and Iona fare. Obviously, they've been one of the best teams in the MAC recently, or the past couple of years. They weren't very good last year. But with a Hall of Fame coach coming in, it'll be really interesting to see how they do.
What an interesting conversation, guys. Continuing on the hardwood, the men's and women's basketball teams both witnessed a lot of changes to their teams in the offseason. So who do you two have as your preseason player of the year and rookie of the year?
So I guess we'll start with the men's side of things because that's where we finished. My Quinnipiac MVP this year is Tyrese Williams. Obviously, like I previously mentioned, with key players, Rich Kelly, Kevin Marfo out of the lineup, I really think it's going to be players like Tyrese Williams that need to step up. Tyrese averaged about 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists a game last year, all while playing nearly 26 minutes. I expect to see an increase in some of his minutes and more playing time, as well as shooting the ball. He'll probably be shooting the ball more, especially from 3 with the absence of Rich Kelly. I also consider Jacob Rigoni a really strong player, a junior, who would also really needs to step up for the Bobcats this year. So I'm kind of curious on who you have.
Yeah, I had to go with Tyrese Williams as well. Like you mentioned, it's kind of an open discussion here.
Yep, definitely.
Could be Tyrese, could be Jacob Rigoni, could be Matt Belanc, even Seth Pinckney. If they can get him on the floor more often, he'll be a force down low. But really the word of the day for me is opportunity. Rich Kelly took almost 13 shots a game last year. Scored 17 a game, almost 17 a game. So
led the team in 3-pointers.
There you go. So there's a lot of production that's going to have to be made up, and Tyrese is really the one primed to take over that role. It'll be interesting to see him playing or without having someone like Rich Kelly next to him. I think he's definitely going to take that next step. And you look at Jacob Rigoni is a senior. The only other senior on the roster is Jack Higgins, who we haven't seen that much of over his time at Quinnipiac. So Tyrese is really the most experienced player after Rigoni, because you have guys like Nat Belanc, who missed his first year. Tyree Pickron has missed some time. So really after that, this is really not an experienced Bobcats team. So they're really going to be relying on guys like Tyrese Williams to shoulder the load, shoulder the loss of guys like Rich Kelly and Kevin Marfa.
A lot of change coming for sure. And how about we look at the women's side of things? I don't know about you, but I thought this was pretty easy. For MVP, I'm going with Shaq Edwards. I think she's the clear front runner. The now senior, she finished 12th in the MAC in scoring last year and led the team in assists with 3.6 assists. She's a very consistent shooter as well. Shoots 40% from the field and 37% from three, which is very impressive. I also think, like you said earlier, you have to account for the fact that key players like Taylor Hurd, Paige Warfel, and Jaden Ward are now all gone. So she's really going to need to step it up, play a lot more consistent minutes, and really carry the burden in the offensive load for the Bobcats. But another player I really wanted to watch is now sophomore Michaela Morris. She's another great player. She finished second on the team in rebounds last year with 6.5 a game, as well as adding 8.3 points per game. She has a very beautiful jump shot. She has a good post game. She's a very consistent scorer, and she will definitely need to step up and carry the offensive load with Shaq Edwards.
Yeah, and when you're running through the list of the key players that are gone, I believe 2 of those were front court players. So I'm going to have to go with Michaela Morris here. Like I said, opportunity. With Ward and Warfel gone, the front court is all Michaela Morris's. One of the best rebounders in the conference. Just a physical force down low. I just really think that given the absence of Jaden Ward, Paige Warfel, she's going to have free reign there, and she can score the ball as well. Double-digit scoring in 8 of her last 10 games, and she led the team in usage rate last year. So they're already running the offense through her, and I think it's only going to increase with some of the key players gone.
Definitely also going to need to rebound the ball a lot more efficiently now with Paige Warfel going to average 12 rebounds a game. So it's going to be key for her to step up on the glass.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Shaq, but opportunity is big for me, and Michaela Morris has a big opportunity this season.
Another key player on the women's side of the court is redshirt senior Shaq Edwards. For more on the impact she will have on the team, we go to basketball beat reporter Jack Main outside Lender Court.
The doors remain locked to the Lender Court in the People's United Center as we patiently await the return of Quinnipiac basketball. But until such time, we offer you an insight into what the start of the season could look like for returning redshirt senior point guard Shaq Edwards. Shaq struggled a little bit to end the season. In 8 of her last 10 games, shot under 30% from the field, and committed a team-high 23 turnovers during that stretch. During the extended offseason, head coach Trisha Fabry was able to stay up to date with her star point guard and offer some words of encouragement for what could have been a better end of the season.
Obviously, you go through stretches where it's not your best. The best way to get out of it is just continuing to put the work in. And this young lady continued to put the work in. So for her, she just had an incredible 7 months to get back here. She physically is in great shape, and she's just another year under her belt, and it's paying off right now on the court with everybody. It was 6 o'clock. It was 6:30 in the morning, and she would just text, "Hey, coach, rise and grind, rise and grind."
The women returned to Lender Court here on December 9th for an in-conference matchup against Monmouth. And after graduating one of their best shooters in the spring, Shaq's impact will have to go beyond the stats, but also on the leadership scale as well. Reporting from the People's United Center in the Lender Court, I'm Jack Main, Q30 Sports.
What are your guys' picks for the men's and women's basketball teams' Rookie of the Years?
Yeah, this is my favorite part of college athletics, the first years coming in. And for me, in terms of Quinnipiac basketball, if you can shoot the 3 ball, you have a spot on either program, men's or women's, and Jill Casey could shoot. Averaged 3 triples a game in her senior year of high school, set her high school record with 154 3 balls in her career. This team likes to play fast, go up and down the court, and with someone like Taylor Hurd leaving, there's a spot there at the 2-guard position, I think Jill Casey is going to have a big year in her first year for the Bobcats.
Yeah, strong first-year class for the Bobcats. Nazarene William, Tiara White, like you said, Jill Casey, but I'm going Haley Smith. The first year averaged 17.5 points per game through her entire high school career, which is very impressive, and amassed over 1,500 points. That's nothing to laugh at. That's really impressive. She's going to be really important to this team, I believe.
And let's talk men's real quick. I'm going to kind of cheat the system here because I'm not going to take a true first-year player, but I'm going to take sophomore Elias King, 6'9" transfer from Santa Monica Community College. And like I said, opportunity with guys like Aaron Falzone, Kevin Marfo gone. There's a lot of minutes available in the front court. So Elias King averaged 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, and he shot over 40% from 3. I think there's going to be a spot for Elias King to get some minutes in the Bobcats front court.
Was also junior college All-California team. Really impressive. But I'm actually going to go with Bull Akkad. I really think he's a great player. He averaged 17.2 points and 7.2 assists at the prestigious Dang Camp, Luau Dang Camp, the NBA player, and took home camp MVP. He's native of New England from Manchester, New Hampshire, a guard, which, you know, with the absence of Rich Kelly, they need as well, a good position to fill. So he will bring a lot to the Bobcats, I believe.
Yeah, my only thing, it's a crowded backcourt. A lot of guards coming in. Luis Courtwright, Matt Belong, Tyrese Williams, Taimu Chenery. So I don't know if Bolakot's going to be able to distinguish himself in his first year. Like I said, opportunity's big.
Mm-hmm. Very important.
All right, thank you guys. Don't go anywhere. Bobcat Breakdown will be right back.
One in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, the boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks.
You, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker,
On your left.
your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, with early diagnosis, pre-diabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
Welcome back to Quinnipiac's #1 sports debate show, Bobcat Breakdown. Let's get right back into it. The 2019 Quinnipiac baseball team made an incredible run to the NCAA tournament. They won their first tournament game in school history, with the majority of the players from that team still in the lineup. Is it MAC championship or bust this season?
I'll let you take this one, Jacob, to start it off, seeing as you're the baseball beat reporter from last year.
So the last time I checked, and Gage alluded to it, this team is still the rating champs. So they still have the rings on their fingers, and they're still hungry for more. I can see how one might look at last year in the abbreviated season. They went 3-11. I don't think that's indicative of this team at all. Like we mentioned, the core is still in place. Evan Vogelmore, Andre Marrero, Colton Bender, Ian Osberg. These are the guys that took them to the tournament. Led them to a win in the tournament against the number 10 team in the country. So all the guys are still here. They might have struggled at the beginning of last year. They played some really tough non-conference opponents. I mean, you play to win the game every time you step on the field. This team is hungry for more. I'm interested to see what happens with their pitching. Blake DeCarr is back. Connor Mahoney in the bullpen. So, championship or bust, why not?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to agree with you on this one. Like you said, the majority of the team from that 2019 run is back. They're ready to go. And we have to consider that those 14 games they played that they went 3-11, none of those games were against MAC opponents. So this team is still very poised to go on a deep playoff run and maybe return to the College World Series. Players like you said, Evan Vogelmore, Michael Cohn, Christian Nicolosi, and Blake DeCarr, they're all coming back. So this team is ready to go, in my opinion. And I think if they don't win the MAC championship this season, I think it will be a letdown. I think it will be a bust season.
Thanks, guys. Shifting gears from baseball to softball, the softball team recently lost one of its key pitchers to the transfer portal and another to graduation. With this in mind, are you concerned with the current state of their pitching?
I don't know about you, Jacob. I'm very concerned about the state of the pitching right now. Similar to the baseball team, they didn't play many games last year, but the games they did, they let up a ton of runs. The total ERA, the combined ERA of their team last year, 11.07. The opposing pitchers, just 2.19. This is a huge problem that the Bobcats facing. Last year, the lowest ERA one of their pitchers had was 3. The second lowest, 9.26. These are huge concerns for this team, and it's a problem they're going to need to fix really soon, or the 2021 season is going to be a lot similar to the 2020 season.
So I thought you just said when we were talking about baseball that none of the games were against MAC opponents. Doesn't really matter. So I am absolutely not concerned about this pitching. In softball, you really only need 2 star pitchers, and I think they have them. Tiffany Kennedy Cummings, yes, she struggled. A 9.84 ERA in 2020. Let's look back at her career a little bit. 2.45 ERA in 2018 at Fresno State. Only 34 innings pitched, but she did miss some time. She transferred in from JUCO. A 1.24 ERA in 2017 and 119 innings pitched. And back in 2016, an 0.99 ERA, 155 innings pitched. She's a stud pitcher. She's going to be the #1 arm for them. And how about Julia Wost, the first year coming in, tops out at 65 miles an hour, played 4 years of varsity high school softball. So I'm really not concerned. We did not see this team last year in MAC play. I'm actually more concerned about their bats. They only hit .202 in the MAC in 2019. And their best hitters then, Rachel Marchuk and Erin Larson, have since graduated. So more concerned about the bats. Alexis Otero, Kayla Jensen, Bridget Douglas. It's a big year for them if the Bobcats softball team wants to make some noise.
Will definitely be interesting to see how they fare in 2021.
What a very interesting discussion. Unfortunately, we have to take one more break, but stay tuned. Final roars are coming up. welcome back inside Studio 125. Thanks for staying with us. Tonight we are flashing back to 1 year ago this week in our new segment sponsored by the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network, Game of the Week. Not only did the Quinnipiac men's soccer team get a big shutout win against Canisius, but it was also covered by Q30's Bobcat Game Day Special. Guys, what do you remember most about this game?
Yeah, actually, it was probably not even the game. It was the Bobcat Game Day, which was so much fun to put on and really brings me back to a time when we had sports going on campus. I got to be on the desk. I know you were in the control room. It was kind of a frenzy behind the scenes to get everything ready. But yeah, it was a big game, 5-0 shutout. First 2 career goals for Griffin Scalia, the defender. Simon Hilliger had 2 as well. And that was the start of a nice run for the Bobcats to end the season. They went 5-1 in their final 6 games to secure that number 2 seed ahead of the playoffs.
Yeah, you see right there, great cross and a great finish. Goalie didn't stand a chance. Like you said, Jacob, I really miss those times being in the studio back when we had live sports here at Quinnipiac.
Absolutely.
We have come to the end of tonight's show, and you know what that means. Final roars. Ethan, take it away.
All right, thank you, Gage. The return of professional sports amid the COVID-19 pandemic brought a lot of joy to households across the United States, including mine. However, the decision to bring back sports also raised a lot of eyebrows and was the cause for a great deal of concern amongst fans, owners, and most importantly, players and coaches. Despite these questions and concerns, the leagues began to make plans to bring sports back. The NBA and NHL decided to announce hub cities where all their playoff games would be located for the remainder of the year. The NHL had their hub cities in Edmonton and Toronto, while the NBA named Orlando their home for the remainder of the year. Both the NBA and NHL found incredible success in using a bubble, as there were 0 positive cases in both bubbles, an incredible feat that should have been copied by other leagues. The NFL and their league offices decided to ignore what the NBA and NHL did and continue their season with little changes. Teams still fly across the country to their games, and practice facilities are still open every day. I'm not saying the season should be canceled, as it's too late for that now. I'm only pointing out what a failure the season has been so far. Schedules are reorganized every week. Teams like the Patriots and Steelers are receiving bye weeks that could affect them down the road. Star players like Cam Newton, who have tested positive, miss games where he's desperately needed. The NFL should have taken a page out of the NBA and NHL's book. Relocate all the teams to hub cities, reduce their travel and contact with others, and only have teams play the other teams in their bubble. The league offices failed to recognize the success of the NHL and NBA, and now it's costing them.
This is our 5th week of shows since returning to campus, so I guess I can address the elephant in the room now. Yes, there are no sports on campus this semester, and yes, I have no idea what to do with myself on Saturdays and Sundays anymore, but that hasn't stopped our station from putting on 2 killer sports shows every week. The pandemic has changed the sports world as we know it, but we're still here, and we still have 30 minutes on Mondays and Tuesdays to fill. This was not how I envisioned my first semester as Q30 sports director unfolding, but here's the message to the station I keep coming back to. As journalists, we have 2 choices. We can put down our notepads and cameras and just wait for this all to be over, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon. Or we can work even harder, pursue truth, pursue stories, and do A+ work while others are not. So when those first basketball games tip off in the winter, or when the first baseball games get going in the spring, sure, it'll be sweet to be back out in the field. But for us at Q30, just business as usual.
After losing to the Dolphins on Sunday, the New York Jets are officially the worst team in the NFL with an 0-6 record. Many people are trying to find someone they can blame for this atrocity, but to me, it is pretty clear. I am talking about Joe Douglas and Mike Maccagnan. Maccagnan was fired in May of 2019 after making numerous questionable decisions, including hiring head coach Adam Gase over someone like Mike McCarthy. Meanwhile, Joe Douglas was hired in June of 2019, and ever since the Jets have begun a fire sale of assets, including Robbie Anderson, Leonard Williams, and Jamal Adams. Not to mention, they cut Le'Veon Bell because he did not fit into Gase's system. Newsflash, this is not on the players. And if the Jets end up wasting the talent of Sam Darnold, there will be only one way to point your finger, right at the top. That is all the time we have on Bobcat Breakdown this week. Be sure to follow all of our content on our website at q30tv.com, on social at Q30sports, and on our new app from Jacob Resnick, Ethan Logue, and everyone behind the scenes. I am Gage Kilborne saying good night from Hamden.